something else. So I just wanted to put this on record, that there was two, one he admitted, the other one he alluded to somebody else, not coming from him. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So then I'll come to, his is not a comment, he was more or less, so I'll give the floor to former Minister for Finance.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this important statement made by the Honourable Kennedy Osei on the role of digitalization in improving on revenue performance. Digitalization really has come to stay, and the contribution of digitalization towards enhancing revenue performance, both in the area of revenue collection and also in the area of compliance, is evident in the numbers that we see in our revenue. Some of the measures that were implemented to improve revenue collection using digital solutions are well known to us. Mr. Speaker, we have, for example, the Ghana.gov payment platform, the electronic invoicing for VAT, what we call eVAT platform. Then we also have ICOMS. These have all contributed to raising the levels of revenue that we have collected. On page 2, and I think paragraph 4 of the statement, the maker of the statement made reference to the tax dev research done by the Institute for Fiscal Studies, which indicated that as of 2022, the tax-to-GDP ratio was about 13.8%. Mr. Speaker, he also alluded to the fact that this is far below the 18% we are supposed to be achieving by 2027. I would like to report that over the last 2 years, the government has achieved so much to the extent that we are very close to achieving the 18% before even 2027. As of the end of last year, 2024, tax-to-GDP ratio was 17%. We took it from 13.8% in 2022 to 17% as of December 2024. That's very significant, and that is moving from 75 billion Ghana cedis to 154 billion Ghana cedis. So through the efforts of the government and the measures that we implemented, the digital platform, the digital solutions that we implemented, we managed to double the revenue collection from 75 billion Ghana cedis to 154 billion Ghana cedis. And that brought our tax-to-GDP ratio to 17%. I want to invite the minister, the new minister for finance, to continue to pursue these policies and measures to achieve the tax-to-GDP ratio of 18% this year, and not 2027. Because that is possible, that can be done. If we've done it from 2022 to 2024 by about 3.2 percentage points, then it should be possible for them to achieve it if we have to do 1 percentage point this year. Mr. Speaker, making tax digital requires a number of measures. One is the faceless tax assessment and filing of taxes. 2 is to ensure that businesses and individuals keep digital tax records. And the third one is to simplify tax audits in order to improve on the compliance. And this is what the ITAS referred to in the statement is intended to achieve. I again want to encourage the Minister for Finance to give more attention to the implementation of the ITAS in order for us to achieve these objectives and ensure that we collect more revenue to support the implementation of the budget. In doing this, I also want to encourage the government to ensure that we source digital solutions from the local market. There are local fintech companies that are producing solutions that we can use to achieve our digital objectives. These local fintech companies have been used over the last 3 years. And we have been able to implement those solutions they have produced to bring us this far. I want to encourage them also to come out with a policy, a local content policy that will guide the utilization of local fintech companies rather than sourcing these solutions from abroad. Mr. Speaker, by now we all understand the role digitalization can play in the economic advancement of our country. President Mahama alluded to this at the Africa Prosperity Dialogue when he said that digitalization is critical for Africa's economic transformation. And this is just a vindication of what the Venerable Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has been pursuing over the last 3-4 years to ensure that digitalization becomes a vehicle for the advancement of the Ghanaian economy for the benefit of the people of Ghana. And so I thank the maker of the statement for this very important statement. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this discussion.
Thank you very much. Yes, let me look at.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Your name?
Emmanuel Kwekubuam, Pro East.
Very well.
Yeah, I want to contribute to the statement made by the makers, honorable members of our colleagues, honorable members of this venerable house. In fact, when you look at this particular issue, it is an issue of great concern. First, to tackle how we can use digitalization in increasing revenue for government and even for the state. You see, whenever we look at some of these things, we talk about government. But unfortunately, much of the private sector contributes a lot to these finances and taxes. You know, we got ourselves registered into SIMS and believing that every business, once you are registered, you have an account that you deal with. Your bank account, your telephone number, and then your business registration. Even at a point, our Ghana card was used as a TIN, that's your tax identification number. This tells us clearly that when we map up a strategy as a country, we would be able to use these tools available to us to make sure that whatever you generate, whatever you produce, you are able to account for it. Why is government not realizing full potential of our taxes? It's just because there is so much variance between what we earn, what we declare, and what we pay to government. And using technology, this can easily be breached. And there's so much responsibility on the communication ministry to make sure that they bridge that wide gap between what we see, what we do, and then what we earn as a state. To talk of cybersecurity is something that we all need to pay so much attention to. It is more or less becoming like an organized crime. When you look at the people involved, these are young guys who are recruited. And what they do is that most of them, they are people who go onto their system, clone the data of honorable people or members, and there are some that engage in direct calling. So they call you to find out exactly what you are doing. And there are those who also use your identification or your details to tell people that they are impersonating or they are the real people once you are being impersonated. Unfortunately, there seem not to be direct guidelines as to how these things should be kept. I was happy when Honorable Sam George made a point that he's going to lead another regime to make sure that we have some form of legislation to some of these things. The youth today are using unemployment as the benchmark for what they are doing. Unfortunately, they have that courage, that audacity to go about calling you and telling you that should they not do this, what do they do for a living? And I had an encounter with one of them after talking to him for severally. He said, boss, if we don't do this, how do we feed ourselves and our families? So you can imagine the level at which our young guys are taking this thing. And it is more of a social security. It is more of a national security. And this is something we should look at it collectively as a nation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me give the last opportunity to the former education minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for such a wonderful opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the maker of the statement on cybersecurity, Honorable Dr. Zanetta Rollins, for speaking to the cybersecurity challenge that we face as a nation. Mr. Speaker, with increased digitalization, it's not surprising that we'll have challenges in the space of cybersecurity. Mr. Speaker, I want us to also begin to look at the opportunities presented to us. Opportunity presented to us to improve education in this area at the high school level and at the university level. Mr. Speaker, in the United States, it's estimated that 500,000 cybersecurity jobs have gone unfilled, and it may go unfilled for years to come. Around the world, there are 3 million cybersecurity jobs that are waiting for people to be trained to fill them. The opportunity we have as a nation is to begin to look at the education system. At the high school level, last year, through the high school curriculum reform, cybersecurity content as a coursework was introduced. At the universities, we have to find a way to incentivize our universities to introduce courses in cybersecurity. We also have to begin to look at industry certification in the cybersecurity field. It may not just be enough to have an IT course at the university meeting this requirement. How are we preparing our youth to meet world standard requirements in areas like CIS cybersecurity, certification, CompTIA, network security? There are many industry certification programs at the world stage that our youth, when they get certified, can get jobs and work in that field even remotely. So as we look at the challenge, we also have to look at the opportunity the cybersecurity threat poses and actually contain and give us and begin to take advantage. I think this is where the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance can collaborate to create grant programs that incentivize universities to create cybersecurity courses, that incentivize high schools with laboratories to also train students in cybersecurity. So as we take advantage of the challenge, then Ghana will put its best foot forward, providing the cybersecurity experts of the world. And I think that's an area that we need to take notice of. We also have to congratulate institutions that are doing this. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Wisconsin University College with its Chancellor, Professor Paul K. Finn, for introducing a cybersecurity course at their universities. Other public universities can take a cue and follow suit, so that when we talk about the challenges posed by cybersecurity, we are also going to be able not just providing a legal framework for combating the menace, but also going to provide the people with the expertise to deal with challenges posed by cybersecurity. So as we confront the challenges, let us look at how we take advantage of cybersecurity threat as an opportunity and train the masses of people that will just not meet the needs of Ghana, but meet the needs of the world. Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, we will bring close to the first statement. Leadership, you want to comment? Yes, okay. I'm O'Brien. Yes. Minority leadership.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. To add our voice to the two statements being made, both by Dr. Izinato and then Honorable Nyako, my partner from the Western region. I'm duly informed that that is his maiden statement on taxes. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the issues are clear. First and foremost, in this modern world, you can never do anything without digitalization and internet and the Internet of Things. It is therefore very appropriate that whilst issues of cybersecurity comes up as a country, we also rise up to the occasion. Mr. Speaker, it is a fact that today digitalization has made our lives more easier to live, and then it also gives us the opportunity to grow our country. Today, when you take the giants of the world, more than 5 IT companies control them: Apple, Microsoft, and the rest. And therefore, I believe that now that we are talking about cybersecurity, we should also be looking at the education we give to our children and the general population in general. Mr. Speaker, these days, if you are an MP, you should understand that you are not free. Every day, you see in your inbox, Minister, MP, your PA took money from us that we should pay 200 Ghana cedis to be employed at the military or the police or immigration. Clearly, it shows that there's an information gap and the expectations that come from our own people. I have consistently said that our education will be incomplete if we don't start teaching critical thinking in our schools. Because I ask myself, how would an ordinary person think that his MP was to take 200 Ghana cedis from him or her before he gets placement in the immigration services or any employment agency in our country? So I believe that is number one. Two, we should also understand that we've made so many laws to curb the incidents in the internet or the digitalization space. We even have the Data Protection Agency, we have the Police Services Act, we have the Data Protection Act, we have the Electronic Transaction Act. We have a lot of laws, and for all these laws, there are sanctions attached to them. So the question you ask yourself is, how come people continue to perpetrate a lot of these crimes and we are not able to take care of it? Mr. Speaker, I do believe that it is time that these agencies become robust in dealing with people who are cited for such fraud, who are cited for such cyber security breaches, so that this country can see some calm and also encourage investors into our country. As we speak today, a lot of payment companies like PayPal still do not allow Ghanaians to fully use their services to purchase online across the globe. There are certain services who are still not even here in Ghana, like Amazon. They are still not in Ghana. They just recently moved to South Africa, clearly showing that there's something amiss when it comes to cybersecurity and fraud being perpetrated on the internet. It is for this reason that I believe that the new minister, who has been in the system for some time, will look at this area not just as an intelligence issue, but also as a way of life of Ghanaians, so that Ghanaians will have that full confidence to move a lot of their activities online to also get the benefit thereof. Going forward, Mr. Speaker, on the tax administration, I've had the responsibility some time ago as the Finance Committee Chairman of the Metropolitan Assembly of Sekendi Takrady. We never increased any rate. We just digitalized, and our revenues moved within 6 years by 1,000%. So I'm clear in my mind when Honorable Nyako made it clear that we've been able to increase our revenues through digitalization. And I think that that is the way to go. Unfortunately, it is only in Ghana that when government moves services online, then people get annoyed. In fact, I remember when we came to power, immediately they moved the scholarship secretariat online. People started complaining. How can we benefit? It's online. We are not getting anything. Immediately they moved the YEA online. People even felt reluctant to go and fill the forms. So I believe that we need education. We need to educate our people and let them see the real benefits of these interventions that government is putting in place. Because for us to move our revenues from 45 billion to over 150 billion through digitalization, I believe that that is clearly the way to go. In fact, recently in my region, we introduced what we call the e-tankers. We're trying to do this sanitation model with digitalization. And all of a sudden, the assembly started increasing revenues because of the ability to actually capture nuisance, sanitation nuisance, online, and they're able to increase their revenue. So I believe that from what Honorable Nyako have said, it is also appropriate that we also look at the issue of financial literacy in our schools. A lot of Ghanaians don't seem to be abreast when it comes to issues of finance. And therefore, we find it difficult to understand ourselves, even in paying the taxes to start with. In fact, in this house, I'd made mention that when it even comes to the issue of asset declaration, every Ghanaian should declare his assets so that people don't move assets from one place to another. But when you say it, people will start telling you that, hey, why are you trying to go there? But Mr. Speaker, there should be a basis. There should be a basis so that we can all understand that paying tax to the state is good. And therefore, the suspicion amongst ourselves will also... I said declare it. I didn't say make it public. I said declare it. If you declare it, it's good. So people can move assets across. So that when the tax officers are now going to ask us to file online, to use our Ghana card to do this, blah, 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 there can always be that connection, that interaction. And then for us to trace to the last mile so that government can get the benefit of our taxes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to ask.
Lastly, Honorable Majority Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very important statement made by my able friends, Honorable Senator Rawlings, and a similar statement made by Honorable Kennedy Osei-Nyako. Mr. Speaker, cyber crime cases have indeed become very alarming. It is not just peculiar to Ghana, but actually it's a global thing. And it looks as if the technology is ahead of the regulation. Mr. Speaker, we have a lot of regulators who are actually technocrats, are not practitioners in the technology or the digital world. And therefore, they have challenges in actually being able to keep up with the people who are perpetrating this type of crimes. Mr. Speaker, some of the recommendations that Honorable Senator Ajima Rawlings had made here are very important. Mr. Speaker, we need to have the kind of equipment. Such matters that are reported to the police and other agencies who deal with these things are not actually equipped and don't have a good understanding of the technology to be able to deal with the problems that we send to them. And these platforms that have actually become, they are quite numerous. You know, you talk of the TikToks, the Twitters, Facebook, and what have you, are not actually being as responsible as they should. And they are being taken on by the mighty countries like the United States and Europe and others. But in Africa, we don't actually have the strength to take these platforms on. Therefore, the service that are provided to us are not as good as other people get elsewhere. Because in other countries, there are penalties that these institutions pay to government. And if that is not there, then obviously people are going to get away with doing all the things that they do. It is difficult, and I'm sure it has affected a lot of people here, that when you get all these fake accounts and all that, to be able to actually get them shut down, even with verification, because we are not having the regulations and what we need to be able to do these things. When it comes to what Honorable Kennedy Nyako said, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to revenues for technology, we are just scratching the surface. You hear various finance ministers talk about widening the tax net and all that. Mr. Speaker, yes, you can widen the tax net for the informal sector and all that. This technology and digitalization are actually in the formal sector. They are not informal. Therefore, we are not doing enough there. Are we equipped with people in the GIA with technology to be able to chase some of these institutions, to be able to get us the taxes that they should pay? And the answer is no. When you go to the Ministry of Finance, it's the Ministry of Finance itself hiring practitioners who understand this modern day technology to be able to pursue the taxes that some of these institutions are due to pay us. So we have the minister equipment that we have today. The criminals are far ahead of us with the technologies that they have. And we need to fashion out the policies, the regulations, and what have you, to be able to get these scammers. And on the finance minister is not here, but I know he will hear. The former finance minister had the opportunity to make a good contribution, and I hope we will follow that up in going for taxes that we can get from the formal sector, but from the technology and the digitalization space, and not just talk about widening the net to all these informal sectors that for some reason we are not able to do. But the hanging fruits are still within the formal sector, where these technology players actually play. And I thank the people who made this statement for a good job done. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable members. We will take our third statement from Honorable Frisia Jane. And the statement is about the tourism potentials of Kintampo South. I guess that is constituency. Come again. Honorable member, before you take the floor, I think the minister designate would like to give a message in relation to the discussion we just had. So, Honorable Minister, yes.
Thank you, right Honorable Speaker. I was just saying that based on what the Honorable Opoku Davis, OPK, said, I would plead with both whips to compile a list of the official accounts on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and furnish the ministry with that information. That will allow us to engage the platform owners to build and do a verification. Because when you look at our colleagues in the US Congress, they don't use the blue tick. They actually have a gray tick for public officials in government. That's even different from the blue tick. And so we will be engaging with the platforms, if you furnish us with those details, to get that level of verification and then do public sensitization to the Ghanaian public that unless you see a gray tick, do not see this as an official government handle. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So, yes, Leader.
Speaker, I believe that the request by the Minister for the sector is in order. And I want to urge my brother on the other side so that we should be able to gather these things by tomorrow. Because, Speaker, as we speak, as soon as you succeed in collapsing a fake one, several other fake ones are generated. So if they have a mechanism to be able to deal with the fake ones, it will serve the need and purpose for members to be able to reach out and communicate with the generality of the people, and to also reduce the fraud that's perpetrated on our constituents, especially where the system is deployed to attract money or demand from all of them. So we want to thank you for this request. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Honorable Jerry, you want to say something?
Yes,
Speaker, especially when there are a lot of invitations to treat with reference to people saying that you have to pay 200 cedis for you to be employed. And my friend Afia Bekpo has suffered a lot of those. It's high time to support the call from our brother and finish him with all our proper emails and other social media handles so that all of those ones are verified for the security of members. So we are minded to support this call. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, let me now invite Honorable Fisher Jane to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am honored to stand before you today, proud and humble by the trust my constituents have placed in me for the second time after I lost my seat in the 2020 elections. My journey to this moment has been challenging, yet transformative, preparing me to serve my constituency with vision and pride. Mr. Speaker, as a woman in leadership, I am proud to be part of a growing community of women breaking down barriers and glass ceiling. I commend His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama for empowering women in public service. The selection of Her Excellency Professor Jane Nana Opoku Agyemang as running mate and now Vice President of Ghana demonstrates the President's commitment and the Ghanaians' people's acceptance of women in public service. Mr. Speaker, to young women and girls out there aspiring to leadership, I say the sky is not the limit, it's only the beginning. Mr. Speaker, our constituency is rich in tourism potential, boasting attractions like the Kintampo Waterfalls, Kintampo Fila Falls, Kintampo Village. However, poor road network and inadequate telecommunication infrastructure hinder tourism growth. Mr. Speaker, most of our roads leading to important tourist sites are in bad shape, making it difficult for tourists to access our attractions. Critical roads such as those connecting Jema Town and Amoma Town to Amoma Nkwanta through Agena require urgent attention. Those roads are a nightmare for road users, farmers, and traders. Mr. Speaker, some of the major roads in need of repair include Amoma Nkwanta through Agena to Ofuman in Techman North constituency, Shreso through Boadi to Nyame Asem, Asante Okra to Ayoya, Sabule through Mansie to Subrinso in the Wenche district. Mr. Speaker, these roads are a lifeline connecting our communities, facilitating trade, and promoting economic growth. I humbly call upon the government to put the necessary steps to fix the roads. Mr. Speaker, furthermore, the lack of reliable internet service affects tourist communication and local businesses' ability to market their service. I appeal to the government to invest in our tourist sector, particularly in Kintampo South, to improve lives and promote tourism. Mr. Speaker, to boost tourism, the government can encourage local businesses to participate in tourism efforts through initiatives like launching training programs for local entrepreneurs on marketing their services to tourists, creating local tourist board to coordinate promotional efforts, offering micro grants to small businesses to enhance tourism-related services, developing investment plan for infrastructure development in the tourism sector. Mr. Speaker, I appeal to His Excellency President Mahama to consider the repair of our roads and development of our telecommunication infrastructure. Let us work together to put Kintampo South on the map as one of the best tourist destinations. Mr. Speaker, Kintampo South is ready for the 24-hour economy. Kintampo South is ready to receive the world. Let us fix our road and unlock the full potential of constituency Kintampo South. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Let me invite Honorable Member for Bosome Freho. I think he is also located within a tourist area. So, Honorable Member for Bosome Freho, take the floor now, but
Yes,
work around 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I would like to commend the maker of the statement heavily. Mr. Speaker, this is as a result of the potential within that industry she has mentioned. She enumerated very critical and important sites and areas that is important not just for her community but also for the country as a whole. Because when tourists are coming into Ghana and they go to Kintampo, they would definitely make some payment and contribute something to the economy of this country. So even though she is advocating for Kintampo, it is important that we all join hands and commend her because it will have a rippling effect in Ghana. I want to just ride on the back of her statement to reiterate one or two few points that was made by the minister. The minister made some critical point at the vetting, which was captured in her report, in the report that we approved here.
Which minister are you talking about?
The Minister for Tourism.
Okay.
The Minister for Tourism. One was the ministry's preparedness to work with the MMDCs to develop local tourist sites. The Speaker, I think when we should pick each and every constituency here, and should that policy or that commitment by the minister work out, it is going to boost the tourism sector in this country, because every constituency or district have a huge potential when it comes to tourism. And should the minister work hand in hand with the MMDAs to fix those areas, it is going to help us. The Speaker, the second one is developing the sites or the roads that leads to those tourist sites. The Speaker, it is important, and the maker of the statement also mentioned it. Not long ago, I mentioned a few waterfalls that I have in my constituency, Bosome Freho. The Speaker, I mentioned the Abriwa waterfalls. I mentioned the Bakoti waterfalls, the Awam waterfalls, the Bobium waterfalls, the Dani waterfalls, the Momosu waterfalls, the Tebri waterfalls, the Tebesu waterfalls, and the Subrisu waterfalls. The Speaker, all these waterfalls, when you look at the roads that are leading to these waterfalls, the Speaker, it is poor and bad. I am going around on social media, internet, advocating that foreigners, Ghanaians, visit these sites. The Speaker, but when they get to the district or the constituency, getting to the sites is even difficult. The Speaker, let me single out one, the Amamos waterfalls. The Speaker, history studies have shown that the Amamos waterfalls is medicinal. The Speaker, when you are sick and you happen to bath the Amamos waterfalls, you will be healed automatically. Now, imagine people want to visit Amamos waterfalls, but they cannot go. You have to walk because the roads are not motorable. Accessing those places are difficult. So I want to commend her and plead with the minister in charge, with government, that roads in these areas, particularly my constituency, Bosome Freho, must be looked at, because we have a lot of potential when it comes to tourism that the country will benefit from, that the district will also benefit from. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I want to once again commend the maker of the statement And then thank you too for giving me this opportunity. I'm grateful.
Thank you very much. I hope Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways is here with us. Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways, I hope you heard the discussion. Honorable Fisher-Jay and Honorable Nana Asafo-Jay, all of them are talking about roads leading to very important tourist sites. So that's why I'm just drawing your attention to it. Yes. Let me give the opportunity to the freshers. Yes. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement on the floor regarding tourism and the road network.
Okay, welcome to you.
The good people of Garu would also be very happy if I bring their concerns regarding developing tourism potential in the area, which we have. We have a vast land connecting Upper East and Northeast, two conjoining towns, districts, the Garu district and the Bumkurugu district. We have a very beautiful geographic landscape there called the Gambagas Cap, which, if developed very well with the promise made by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to complete the Eastern Corridor, would also go a long way to help in the transportation of tourists to that site. At that very site, we have a building there that was put by our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, to house him when he was on holidays. If we look at it very well, and we redevelop it and invest in that area, it would actually attract tourists to come to that area, and our people would have very opportune time or moment to invest and do trade there and make income and live and provide, provide jobs for the youth who are walking about. Besides the SCAP, we have a route there that elephants travel through it. From Togo, they come to Garu, move through the SCAP, go to Tili in the Zebila constituency, and move up to Nangodi. If we are able to develop that place and actually develop the route and put a watching site there, whereby the tourists can climb, be on the mountain and observe the elephants passing, it will create jobs for the youth. We also have a waterfall within the SCAP that looks very beautiful. So I am also trying to appeal to the road minister and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to ensure that the Eastern Corridor Road is properly captured, and that the tourist minister for tourism should also factor in his investment in the tourism sector to develop the area within the SCAP where the Eastern Corridor Road will pass, to make it a tourism attraction site whereby we could gain foreign income and Ghanaians can come to that place and also have fun. Besides that, that place is very virgin in the sense that we don't have so many vehicles passing there. The grass there is fresh, the air there is fresh, the temperature there looks very accommodating, so that members of parliament here, when you want to have some time to relax and breathe natural oxygen, you come to the Gambagas Cap between Garu and Bumkurugu and Yunyo. So you have some fine time there and relax yourself. To this end, I would say the presentation was apt, and we add our voice to call for road development and tourist development in the Garu area to attract foreign income for us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take the last one. Yes, Honorable Isaac Boama.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this particular statement made by our Member of Parliament for Kintampo. Honorable Speaker, tourism is one of the most important areas that any country can develop to raise its national revenue or income. When you take Africa in context, Morocco currently serves as the biggest tourism in Africa, with a total of over 17 million people visiting Morocco per annum. In Ghana, we have many tourist sites scattered across the country. And yet, it is difficult to see the direction that we are going as a country in terms of developing tourism as an important area for revenue generation or for employment creation in this country. The question one may ask, if you look at budgetary allocation to sector ministries, how much is given or made available to the Ministry of Tourism for the ministry to be able to come up with different programs and initiatives to promote tourism? In fact, the maker of the statement mentioned some routes within the communities where tourism could flourish. And I cast my mind back as far back as 1999-2000, the Ayoya, the Mansia areas, where I had the opportunity of driving through. And almost 24 years down the line, all of these areas remain undeveloped, or the roads have not been fixed. So it's a very important, if you take the Boabin Fima Monkey Sanctuary, what has been done about that area when it comes to tourism? And so I want to admonish, as a country, particularly the Ministry of Tourism, the sector minister, we should be able to have a second look at our direction as a country in developing tourism. We cannot develop all tourist sites across the country, but at least if we target certain areas and begin to fix our tourism eyes there, then as a country we can progressively grow from one area to another. Let me end here, Mr. Speaker, by just also saying that when we look at our tourist sites, we should also be interested in creating alternative or additional development poles around them. So if you go to a waterfall, beyond the waterfall, what are the other tourism activities that we create around those areas, so that people don't just go there to have a visit at a waterfall, but there are other things that will drive tourists to those sites. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honorable Rashid Pepu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just assume you have forgotten I was a leader of this House. And that priority should be given to Mr. Tradition, Mr. Speaker.
And you are my friend.
So for 4 times I was on my feet, and you often will ignore me. I hope this time round, I thank you for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, tourism is a very important area, and for every nation in this country, in this world, it's a key source of income to the people, and it's a process by which a nation is exposed to the economy, the development of the economy, and the beautification of the cities and other development areas that are shown to the people. The Speaker, the maker of the statement has been very specific in this description, and I'm happy that we are discussing tourism today. Ghana is a huge tourism center, and yet, as other people have spoken, other members of Parliament have spoken, we have not explored this to the deepest, and it's killing the spirit of tourism to grow beyond where we know it. We have no good roads, we have no got enough infrastructure, and is becoming a pain that all this potential of boosting the development of culture and getting and reaping the benefits of it are just passing by whilst we cry of lack of funds. Mr. Speaker, various tourism types exist. Sometimes people travel just because they want to see animals. Others travel because they want to do adventure. Some travel because they want to do medical care, and several other reasons for which people travel. Mr. Speaker, so we need to capture on one of this, the history of this country, where we have come from, where we have gone through, the pain we have suffered in slavery, colonialism, all still have elements that we can explore to create value to our people. And I will urge the Minister for Tourism to rise to the need for expanding tourism in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, tourism is not simply the fact that you want to travel to another country. Internal tourism is as important as when you travel out of the country to see things you have not seen, to experience situations you have not experienced, to see and feel the culture, social impact of development of other nations. And so, Mr. Speaker, within Ghana, we want to encourage young people, elderly people, to go out to other places they have never been to, even though we live in this country, to see what they should have seen years before their travel. So I want to commend the maker of the statement, but to also say that the tourism perspectives that we have captured in our manifesto should be explored to the fullest, so we can effectively develop tourism and feel the joy of it, and feel the benefits of it, and create the needed value that is in tourism, so that in the end, we are not only showing the beauty of Ghana to the world, but we will also be getting the benefit of it in terms of economic development. One of the painful things that we often experience is that people come here, they've heard so much about Ghana, they've heard about our independence, our struggle we went through to gain independence. They want to come and see some semblance of it. Just because they come back, and many go back to write bad stories about Ghana. They talk about bad roads. They talk about weakness in our infrastructure. They talk about the poor sanitary conditions. Some take pictures of them and show it to the world. Mr. Speaker, we would need to grow Ghana beyond the ordinary mention of Ghana and the fact that we grow to meetings and they are there on and over and over. There's a need for us to work directly on the infrastructure of our country, on the need for us to have a sensitive view about how we want the environment to look like. And this is all going to contribute to the value of tourism that we want to experience in this country. Mr. Speaker, let me thank you very much for this opportunity, and let me thank the maker of the statement for bringing it out. And if the minister is here for tourism, it is important for him to come and make a statement here one of these days and tell us the potential of tourism and what he's going to do to get us to benefit out of it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let me give the last one to Honorable Asante Achime.
Asante Achime, yes.
Asante Achime.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to stand by Order 631 of the Standing Order and bring my contribution in the local language tree.
Order
633.
Are you going to do the interpretation in English?
Yes, I can do that, yeah.
If you can do that, but why do you want to do it in tree?
My constituents have told me severally that they want to hear or understand most of what we speak about in Parliament in the local language. So if I can indulge you on that, I would really appreciate it.
Is that so?
Yes, please. Right. Mr. Speaker, Didin Kameda Yunyaba, a year Felicia, a J, Sir or day, and some and here we are to now. Kakra me pese me kan eye yakwan a enye dodona enye ewo Ghana ha and afi ye street light ye maame no eka bebre efa tourism ho ye nim sene tourism eboa krubia sene itimide sika eba ema economy no emu epija now mefa kwanya we so no masa atwe aban na dwen asi se ye nyina nim se ye vice president ye maame Jane Nana Opoku oye oba na ya na etode bia ya sefem se wonnam ba bi te se East Legon ene mia bibre a ye nuanom ma se ne omo asalai e wo kwan ho a ya na ade ya semfem eni ti mi hu ni se ebetimi afa akwanya bi so na ye tu maifo se ne be ya omunjeja kwan ho se bi obi ho a bi we free America we free UK wate Ghana opese o obeji nani kakra wo Ghana opese o visit tourism sites na ohu enema bi sei na face ye street lights bebre onam a enjajuma eni ti emma ya na kronum anigye no ya na nipa bebre nheda enya ne saa eni nti me fa kwanya we so na matwe aban no adwen asi problems a efa yakwan a bebre enye efa ye street lights bebre asese na fe ya na se ne yehu emma bebre egina ekwan ho a ebi a so munye dwuma bi abara sebi basibra na omobo ne de tu omofo se enya no nko na ye adwuma o betimi aye e wo Ghana mamu ha ani nti sabrei mesa ato aso aka se oba ba bi te se asante achim no hwidiem kura fro hwidiem a hwidiem ye waterfalls e wo ho ye pese ye krakra ne yi se ne be ya asante achim no nso so tourism ni bi ebetimi apija wo oba ba bi te se onyem so was asante achim no fa also so ye waterfalls ni bi wo ho a enka yesuzu se aban ne de nani kɔ hɔ a ebetimi aboa ama tourism was asante achim no nso so apija. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. If you want me to
do the interpretation for us.
Okay, right.
Honourable members, let's listen to him. He has to do the interpretation for us.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So I want to thank the maker of this statement, my colleague, Honourable Felicia Ejei. I know that she spoke about tourism in Ghana. She made mention of bad road networks. She made mention of a lot of street lights which are not in good condition. She made mention of problems within her constituency. And so I know she urged the government to intervene and put things right in her constituency, which will help with tourism in her constituency. I know that most of my colleagues here and my the honourable members in this house understand what I've put now, and so I will not continue more. I will not say much more. I think that's okay. They understand exactly what I've spoken about. Thank you very much.
Well, honourable members. Honourable Stewart, are you coming to litigate on this matter?
Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I think the order 63(1) with a caption or heading language of proceedings. With your permission, I would like to quote. The proceedings of Parliament shall ordinarily be conducted in English, except that a member may exercise the option to address the House in a local language if facilities exist in the House for interpretation by the member or for contemporaneous interpretation. Mr. Speaker, I think in this House, it is visibly, credibly, crystal clear that we don't have that facility to allow my honorable member from the other side to, in my opinion, per the others, put up this unparliamentary position or action. Mr. Speaker, I would like to admonish the rest of the House that we should not misinterpret the standing orders and by doing that mislead other Ghanaians. It is extremely important and critical that we lead for the larger relevant stakeholders out there to follow. But before I end, I would like to make an input into this very good submission.
No. Well, you let him listen to others related to the topic we just raised.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister Designate for
Mr. Speaker,
Science.
I just want clearance. I heard him say in the local, so I was wondering whether it's Chinese or it's Latin. No, honestly, we all heard him in the local, so I don't know what local is. He needs to expatiate on what is local. It could be Chinese because he has spoken. He has attempted speaking Chinese before.
Honorable Motala, he's your friend, though.
Mr. Speaker, that is the more reason why I am concerned, because I know my friend is capable of speaking many languages. So I don't know whether once again the local is Chinese or is Latin. He's a very intelligent person. So if you could explain further what local means.
Mr. Speaker, if there is any means for us to allow the standard pronunciation system to be done here, I think I am a British trained. And Mr. Speaker, per the phonetics or intonation, C-A-L, if you want to pronounce that word, that vocabulary, it's not Carl, it's local. Go and check. So, Mr. Speaker, I think my brother and a friend, if anything at all, he knows that in terms of store of vocabulary and intonation, according to the Queen's language, I think I have authority over that. And he has to accept that fact. In any case, it's not the pronunciation that is significant here. We are talking about adhering to the standing order, the very law that we ourselves have created. Because once you do this, you are just giving the whole House out. Because other people have read this, other stakeholders, they will take us on. Because adhering to the rule of law and the standing orders should begin from the House. And I think that is where the importance as a definitional element of what we are doing right now matters.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker.
Let me hear other people in relation to Standing Order 63. Yes, Honorable Member for
Lower Manyakrobo.
Lower Manyakrobo.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you read at Order 63.1, the rendition is like this. Sorry. Member may exercise the option to address the House in a local language, if facilities exist in the House for interpretation. Mr. Speaker, yes. Mr. Speaker, I believe that facilities here must be defined. Yes. Mr. Speaker, yes, and the gentleman has gone ahead to interpret. So I don't think there's an issue here. The fact is that if the person is going to facilitate interpretation, he has done that. He did it himself. Please, Mr. Speaker, at least I've been here for some 13 years. And a lot of the time, speeches are made.
Members, please,
Speaker,
let's respect each other.
please,
You spoke. Just allow him to speak. Afterwards.
Mr. Speaker.
No.
Speeches are made on the floor of Parliament, sometimes laced with the local dialect. And members are given opportunity to interpret. That is it. No, it's the same thing. It is the same thing. What facilities are we talking about? What is the meaning of facilities? Technology. The best technology is a human being. Yes, so there's no, I mean, I don't think that this is an issue. Yes, he has facilitated the interpretation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, let me go to.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for the opportunity. I don't want to belabor the point, but I think in the wisdom of the crafters of the standing orders, there is a reason why there is emphasis on contemporaneous interpretation. If we say that anybody can speak in any language and interpret without placing emphasis on contemporaneous interpretation, you will be here, and a whole leader will speak for 30 minutes, 1 hour, in a different language, and come to tell us that he wants to interpret that in English language. That is going to prolong our sittings. It's going to delay us unnecessarily. And so I think that the emphasis on contemporaneous interpretation is something that we must adhere to. Other than that, we leave room for people to say what they want to say for how long, doing filibuster, and then come back to say that they want to interpret that in English language. I think we have to pay attention to that.
Very well. Honourable members, the honourable member sought permission that his constituents would like to see him speak in the local language. So when he sought that permission, I insisted. Then afterwards, you have to do the interpretation to more or less to the whole nation. So so I think we should allow him. Honourable members, I think we should allow him. He sought permission, not that he just got up and spoke. He sought permission that his constituents would like to hear him in the local language. That's why I allow him. But I insisted that afterwards he have to do the interpretation himself. Yes, Honourable Susu, let me hear you on that. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the fact remains that the order says interpretation by the member. Yeah. No, please. Interpretation by the member. Read the standing orders. And then the other option, Mr. Speaker, the other option, listen to me. The proceedings of Parliament shall be ordinarily be conducted in English, except that a member may exercise the option to address the House in a local language if facilities exist. Hold it, please. In the House for interpretation by the member, or the other one is an option, or for contempt, or please, it's an option. He has facilitated the understanding of whatever he has said in Tree, so that's okay. Please, it's okay. Sorry. No. That.
Honourable Talabi, please address the chair. Honourable Talabi, address the chair.
Facilities can be space, even space and time. Oh, my friend. Space and time. Master.
Yes, let me listen to Sosu.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me first start by thanking you for the opportunity given to our brother to express himself in a local language and also giving him the opportunity to interpret same in English language. Mr. Speaker, it is the rule of this House that this House is a master of its own rules. And when it comes to the interpretation of the standing orders, the views of the Speaker supersedes everyone's view. Mr. Speaker, indeed, if anyone has a problem with you admitting someone speaking in a local language, the time for the person to make that interjection is not when the person has finished making his contribution and interpreting same in the English language. In any event, our society is evolving. If we talk about Ghana progressing and moving away from neo-colonialism and neo-colonial ties, one of the ways we do that is, Mr. Speaker, what you have done right here in this House. So you should be commended for upholding that position and allowing the member to make his statement in his local language and explaining same in English language. Mr. Speaker, that is notwithstanding the fact that what my colleague said is indeed a position, that there should be facility. Ordinarily, perhaps there could have been, earpieces or where Mr. Speaker, where whilst he's speaking, somebody may be interpreting same contemporaneously. Or, Mr. Speaker, that there may be an interpreter in the House whilst he's speaking in Cree. When he says one word, somebody interprets, so we know that it's contemporaneous. Mr. Speaker, but my point is that notwithstanding this position in the standing orders, Mr. Speaker, no one can take it away from you unless somebody wants to challenge your view on this matter, by which means the person will have to come by a motion. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for upholding this position. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is very clear. You are qualified to be a member of Parliament or contest for same if you are 18 years and above with sound mind. I have never heard that you should be able to speak. So 21 years, and above with sound mind. I have never heard that you should be able to speak the Queen's language as my brother was espousing. I haven't. Oh, listen to wisdom. I haven't heard anywhere. To be very honest, Mr. Speaker, if you monitor proceedings in other parliaments in Africa, the Kenyan Parliament, the South African Parliament, and many other parliaments, they speak their local language. For me, this should ignite a national conversation around the acceptable, so to speak, language we must all use to communicate in this parliament. For me, what he did deepens our appreciation and value we have for our own languages. If we were to have a nationally accepted language in Ghana, I don't think that this would have been an issue in this House. But because we haven't been able to do that, that has occasioned sometimes some of this debate. Now, I don't want to get into whether he gave an interpretation of what he said or not. I really do not think it's an issue we should be debating about. More so when he sought permission from the Speaker. Can you imagine how his people will be feeling watching him speak a language they understand? He represents a constituency first and foremost. Even those of us who are here on the ticket of political parties, the first responsibility we have is the constituency that we represent. How do we know whether at the time he was making this contribution, the chief of his area was not even watching, who would feel very proud to listen to their son speak a language that they can resonate with their feelings and aspirations? So I think that we should not take the shine from this honorable member. We should not take the shine from this distinguished honorable member. Mr. Speaker, your decision is finito. You gave him the permission to do so. Let no one talk about any local. We don't want to hear any local again.
in this house. No local language in this house again.
Honourable members, let me listen lastly to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At least, Mr. Speaker, once a leader, always a leader. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, we are all very proud, and it will be in our interest for this house to allow each and every one to speak his language. I will be very proud to speak Konkomba in this house. Mr. Speaker, the colleague who spoke quoted standing orders. That's what he did. And we all agree that you are the master. When I think that, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, that is the reason why Mr. Speaker, I have not asked for your leave to speak Konkomba, so I wouldn't do it. So what we are saying is that our friend came under a wrong order and spoke.
Why?
Because order 63 does not permit him. No, he quoted my friend who spoke earlier. He came under order 63. Please, he came under order 63. And that is where this go in, come out is all about. So, Mr. Speaker, we want to thank you, and we think that we are all proud of our colleague. Whatever language he has spoken, we are all in for that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I want to say that in Konkomba, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, in your danke, Echoni Makam Lawali, I would do ya Mua Lemuna, Anulumabe, Ndokanda Yapam, Kudongana Yapam, in the little part, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so to which, Mr. Speaker, what I'm simply saying is that we should try and make room for each and every one in this house to be able to use his language. And I also want to thank you and to also thank the people of Pandai for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Very well. Honourable members, I think this particular session is more or less triggering the nation into a very important area, which is the language, the official language. Like Honorable Mutala said, some of us have visited East African countries, go to South Africa, and elsewhere. They have developed their local language in doing most of their official activities. So I think we are triggering this particular discussion, and okay, let me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. First of all, Mr. Speaker, the rules or the standing orders of this Parliament provides under Order 6 interpretations. What it has failed to do is to clearly interpret or provide definitions of some of the wordings or the phrases or otherwise the sentences used in the standing orders. First of all, my first, if you like, the evaluation or the review of this whole standing order. Mr. Speaker, I'm making a very valid point. Even a common proceedings of Parliament is not captured in our standing orders. What constitutes proceedings in this House is not even captured in the standing orders. And the standing orders, Order 6, if anybody will refer to it, even proceedings in this court is not defined. What constitutes proceedings in this House is not defined. Now, when you move to Order 61, that has been at the center of 63, that has been in the center of this even argument. There is no interpretation put on any of the words used in that order. And that is what is creating the confusion, perhaps, in this House at this stage. What we must do is to take time and go back to the standing orders, and every word, every phrase that is used, we must put interpretation on it first off, to be able to help the House to understand, so that members in this House will stop putting their own interpretation on the words used in these standing orders. That is my first suggestion. My second suggestion, Mr. Speaker, is that the word contemporaneous, in the absence of any interpretation in the standing orders that is guiding this court, we must put a simple Oxford dictionary meaning, or a simple Oxford dictionary meaning to the word contemporaneous. And what does that mean? Because that is common to every member in this House. Simply because, as a lawyer of 15 years at the bar, we are guided, Mr. Speaker, we are always guided by the laws of interpretation. Interpretation, we have literary approach, we have purposive approach, and anyhow you look at it, the words that has been captured in the order that has become subject of debate in this House, the only simple reason or the only simple meaning you can put to the words there, contemporaneous, is that the interpretation and the time of making the statement must occur at the same time. And if they don't occur at the same time, then the honorable member who made the statement, first of all, cannot rely on that order. It's as simple as ABCD. Now, moving forward, in the court, we recently have a situation where you can even take statements via video conference. And my honorable chief whip at the other side, Honorable Dafia Mapo, is a very good friend. He will tell you that in order to ensure the facilitation of such occurrence in the court, you have to give advance notice so that the court can put in the facilities for that to be possible. So if, Mr. Speaker, if the honorable member wanted to make such a statement or wanted to reduce the language or the official language here into Chi, no, Mr. Speaker, he ought to have given advance notice to the table to make arrangements for the facilities that we are speaking of.
Thank you, lawyer.
Mr. Speaker, what are we doing?
Thank you, lawyer.
So, Mr. Speaker, the point I'm trying to make is that they should put advance notice so that facilities can be put in place to comply with the order. Mr. Speaker, I'm done and thank you for the opportunity.
The advance notice was given to me.
Advance notice. Oh.
Lawyer, the advance notice was given to me.
I'm talking about the table.
Well. Honourable members, can you raise this particular issue? Yes.
Speaker.
Afterwards.
Speaker, I thank you. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make some comments on the matter presently before the House. Indeed, the heckling of the honorable member is totally unnecessary. Because, first of all, pursuant to Order 6.
My leader, nobody heckles him.
Oh, Speaker, it's a term of art.
Well, well.
It's a term of art. So we cannot appreciate what's happening. First of all, the Order 6 invoked by my brother also contain a definition for leave of the House or similar expressions. Speaker, with your leave, leave of the House or any expression of similar import means permission or consent given by the House. Mr. Speaker, the fact as established is that the honorable member sought your leave, first of all, to speak in the Twi language. Now, with your leave, he had opportunity to interpret or to offer some translation. We may not be happy with the tenor or the term or whether the translation was perfect, but that is his language. So he attempted to translate what is said in the Twi language in the English language. Now, so the invocation of Order 63.1 to, as it were, torpedo his efforts, it's totally inapplicable. Because under Order 63.1, the option is given, the contemporaneous option is a latter option. Now, in the former option, the law permits him to do the translation himself. That is why the framers, the framers said the member. If you go to the definition section in Order 6, a member is defined as the member of Parliament. So it does not refer to any other member, but the member who uttered the words in the language that is strange to the House. And the same provision, Order 63.1, says ordinarily. So, Speaker, Order 63.1 is to this effect. If I can quickly dig that up. It says, the proceedings of Parliament shall ordinarily. So the catchword here is ordinarily. So occasionally, Speaker with leave can permit a member. So when we are reading the provisions, we need to read it contextually, because today is an exception. That is why I think that in invoking Order 63.1 to anchor his statement, however brief it was, in the Twi language and later translated it into English, was properly anchored. He need not to be heckled. Indeed, he ought to have been commended for making the effort. So I think Order 63.1 is properly invoked by him because it gave him the opportunity to, under extraordinary circumstances, do so, and also got the opportunity to do the translation as a member who uttered the statement. So, Speaker, with these words, I believe that we have done enough comments on the matter. We can conclude with the statements on the floor and proceed to the next one.
Thank you very much, honorable
Thank
members.
you for the opportunity.
So, honorable members, honorable Comfort, I think it's okay. We will take the last statement.
Speaker, I can see my members agitating for the joint caucus. So let me provide some information before we take the statement. The latest information is that the agenda for us, which will engage us for the joint caucus, is being concluded as we speak by the two leaders. They've gone to the Ministry of Finance to finalize the details. So in view of that, the joint caucus is being postponed to tomorrow, so that members will know how to arrange their affairs for today. So joint caucus postponed to tomorrow. So, Speaker, that's the information for the House. Thank you very much.
So, on that note, leadership, will you give an indication?
Yes, Speaker, so that after taking the the agent statement from the member for Nkwanta South. We may.
Nkwanta South, I was scheduling it for tomorrow.
Yes, Speaker, but I tried to.
You see, what I normally do is the statement, I take one here, I take one here. So I've seen his statement, but the last one that was taken was from Frisia. So I was going to go here so that...
Speaker, in that regard, I'm entirely in your hands. We can take one more. 1-1, then we can adjourn for the day. 1-1, if we are minded, Speaker. I thank you.
Okay, then let me... Yes, Doc.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's an issue of public importance that I want to draw your attention.
Very well.
I was directed by leadership to make a statement on meningitis outbreak in the Upper
So you are coming under what order?
My order book is not... Order 93. But what I'm saying is that I'm just drawing your attention. I'm not necessarily...
I understand perfectly.
Yes.
You can once it is a matter of agent.
Yes.
You will be given the opportunity to. But I just want us to know what we are doing. If you are coming under any agency to make any statement, then please anchor yourself with the appropriate standing orders.
Speaker, I believe that the concern of the member, the Honorable Sandare, is that he was desirous of drawing your attention to the fact that he's been requested to submit a statement in respect of the urgent outbreak of meningitis in his constituency and in the area. But then he had no indication as to when it's been admitted and when he will be permitted to take it. So in view of the urgent one that is about to be taken from the Honorable Member for Nkwanta South, I thought he was trying to find out whether he could be considered today. I'm sure that is the indication he wanted.
But I think if Honorable Member can just make the statement example, then he can come under the 93.
Yes, exactly.
Then I will allow him, because this is a matter of
urgent public.
Urgent public.
Very well, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Doc, let's hear you.
I would rather plead to take it tomorrow morning because I prepared other medical officers to contribute.
Very well.
None of them is around. And
wonderful.
So tomorrow morning, if I can be arranged to take it, it's still good. Thank you.
Good. So then let me invite Honorable Member for Forikrum. So that's the arrangement, please.
Speaker, I'm entirely in agreement. So that after Forikrum,
yes,
we can take it.
Very well. Yes, Forikrum,
grateful.
Let's hear you on the recent outbreaks of fire. Is it fire?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make a statement on the recent fire outbreaks in our markets and the growing threat of fires amidst global warming. Mr. Speaker, I rise today...
Honorable Member, have you shared your statement? I've said this over and over again. Because, you see, it will be of great interest and beneficial to all of us if the statements are shared, not even to your colleagues from the other side, so that the contribution can...
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you.
You still haven't responded to me. Have you
shared it. There are a couple of members who have it.
What about the other side?
I shared it with a couple of members. I was just having a conversation with one of the members.
Henceforth, we are going to be very straight on that. You don't just come and give a statement and that's the end. You read the statement, nobody knows the whereabouts of the statement. Yes, so I'm just, it's a general.
Give a copy to them. Give a copy to them.
With a similar concern. So, Speaker, I'm sure after today, I may have to come to you. So we streamline the procedure so that when the statements are admitted and they are to be made by the members, we would have a way of communicating that to the members to be in readiness. The readiness will include getting adequate copies or sufficient copies, which is the language of the rules, so that members will have sufficient copies so they can contribute. I'm sure they get surprised when they say your statement will be taken today, and they say, oh, I didn't know, so I didn't prepare. So going forward, we'll have to prepare a small guide.
Very well. Thank you. So I think this topic is very, very important. I mean, it's something that is trending now. Fire here, fire there. So, Honorable, let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I rise with a noble concern to address the alarming frequency of fire outbreaks in our markets and their devastating effects on lives, properties, businesses, and the economy of Ghana. The perennial fires inflict significant damage, disrupt livelihoods and businesses, and unleash severe pain on victims and their families. As representatives of the good people of Ghana, the least we can do is to charge our executives to bring an end to these horrendous incidents and attendant distractions, loss of lives and properties. It is reported that the Kantamanto fire on 2nd January 2025 claimed one life, left several persons injured, 30,000 traders affected, and 7,000 shops destroyed. Few days before, there was a massive fire outbreak at Ashaiman scrapyard near China Mall on 30th December 2024, destroying 17 containers after the Tema Fire Service has saved 200 containers. In the last 4 months or so, there has been a chronology of fire outbreaks in the Kumasi metropolis. We can recount the Sokoban Wood Market fire in October 2024, which affected a lot of businessmen from Oforukrum. Then in December 2024, shops, properties, and livelihoods of traders at the race course market in Kumasi were destroyed. Fire destruction of houses and properties at Pankrono and Oforukrum followed. And on the 27th December 2024, a church and local TV station were lost to fierce fire at Krofrum. The worst occurrence on 4th January 2025, when fire ravaged through the Kwadasu Wood Market, destroying machinery, wood logs, and finished products. Mr. Speaker, as I even speak, just a few minutes ago, I was informed that there's fire ravaging a house in my constituency in an area in Ofurukum called Gari Market, Gari Factory, which has displaced about 35 people. Mr. Speaker, whilst fire victims in Accra and Kumasi were still counting their losses, another devastating fire broke out at the Abuabo Market in Tamale on 6 January 2025, causing significant damage to several shops and properties. Each year, we witness the same sad story of loss of lives and destruction of farms, properties, and businesses worth billions of Ghana cedis to fire outbreaks. Whereas various reasons have always been adduced to the fires, including global warming, arson, faulty electrical devices and gadgets, illegal connections, and sometimes the smell of political motivation, the continuous recurrence of these fires in our homes, markets, farms, cities, and countrysides every year informs us that we are still far from the root causes. Many statements have been made on this subject matter on the floor of this House. I today convey yet another one as a wake-up call on this August House for serious, non-partisan, deliberation on the matter to find a lasting solution to this perennial national issue. Mr. Speaker, the scope of the fires is not confined to our urban and city markets. It extends to our forests, grasslands, and farms, reflecting a global trend exacerbated by climate change. The consequences of these fires contribute to physical and mental devastation, hardship, and extreme poverty, as individuals lose their lifelong investments, capital, and properties, and sometimes even loved ones. It is imperative to know that the changing climate poses a significant threat to our agricultural sector, particularly our major cash crops. As weather patterns become increasingly erratic, the viability of crops such as cocoa, cashew, and oil palm is jeopardized, threatening food security and the livelihoods of countless farmers. We must recall the 1983 wildfires across the country, which ravaged swaths of forest land, crop farms, and the cocoa landscape, changed Ghana's ecology, and left behind what became a historic 2-year hunger crisis, and Ghana losing its position as the #1 leading producer of cocoa. Even as of today, extremes of weather conditions continue to pose a serious threat to our cocoa sector, which is the mainstay of our economy. As parliamentarians, it is important for us to understand these phenomena to better prepare for climate-related disasters. We need only look to recent events in California and Los Angeles, where devastating wildfires have led to deaths, destroyed homes, displaced tens of thousands, and resulted in significant economic losses. If what we are seeing can happen to well-resourced and well-equipped United States, then we are all forewarned. And to be forewarned is to forearm. This must, therefore, serve as a stark reminder for us as a developing nation to address our situation with urgency and effectiveness. The recent fire outbreaks in Ghana are part of a broader global trend where climate change plays a pivotal role. The increasing frequency and intensity of wildfires worldwide, driven by rising temperatures, prolonged droughts, and shifting weather patterns, demand our immediate attention. As legislators, we must recognize these events as interconnected and driven by larger climate shifts. This understanding should guide our policy discussions and legislative actions, emphasizing the urgent need for comprehensive strategies to mitigate the impact of climate change. We must prioritize investments in preventive measures, enhance our emergency response capabilities, and foster international collaboration to address the root causes of these devastating fires. Our response must be proactive and multifaceted, ensuring the protection of lives, property, and our environment. Mr. Speaker, the surge in wildfire incidents, both in Ghana and globally, is a stark reminder of the changing climate driven by global warming. Elevated temperatures and extended dry periods create ideal conditions of these destructive fires to ignite and spread. As weather patterns evolve, it's imperative that we remain vigilant and adopt environmentally responsible practices. We must focus on reducing deforestation, managing land use wisely, and cutting down on carbon emissions to mitigate the impact of these escalating climate threats. Additionally, we must consider the influence of the El Nino and La Nina on climate extremes. El Nino events can lead to short-term climate changes, resulting in the spikes in global average surface temperature and increased wildfire risk. Conversely, La Nina can bring cooler temperatures and altered weather patterns, sometimes leading to flooding. Understanding these climate phenomena is essential for forecasting and preparing for their impacts, ensuring that our institutions, such as the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Ghana Meteorological Agency, the Fire Service, and the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, are better equipped and resourced to handle the challenges posed by these natural variations. Before concluding, I wish to extend my deep thanks to families that have lost their loved ones, and my heartfelt sympathy to all those affected by recent fires in Ghana and most especially my constituency of Orikrum and around the world. The losses are challenges on us as legislators and those in executive position to make the future better and to remove pain in the way of the people we serve. As a nation, we must move away from the usual ad hoc to more proactive and preventive solutions to the perennial fire outbreaks in Ghana. I therefore propose that government undertakes full coverage assessment of the recent fire losses and come out with a relief package and budget, and with support of Parliament, extend meaningful assistance to the affected as they rebuild their lives. In conclusion, it is our collective responsibility to take decisive action to protect our citizens and our environment from the growing threat of climate change and all the elements that bring about fire outbreaks at homes, shops, markets, public properties, workplaces, and other places. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable Xavier Susu.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Honorable Member for this very, very timely...
Honorable, please comment within 5 minutes.
That is my Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend our venerable colleague for this very, very timely statement made on the fire outbreaks and their devastating effects on the individuals as well as the society. And Mr. Speaker, I identify with this statement so much because just last week, there was, that's about a couple of weeks ago, there was a major fire outbreak in the Medina constituency. Mr. Speaker, that wasn't the first one, but that was about the second time in just 8 months, because somewhere in 2024, we had a very serious fire outbreak within inside the Medina market. But for the timely intervention of the National Fire Service officers around Medina constituency, it would have been a very, very devastating one. But Mr. Speaker, even then, the loss of property and the loss of, I would say, the livelihood of these traders was so massive that I had to begin a relief package known as the Medina Fire Victims Relief Fund, out of which the Vice President, the current Vice President, Her Excellency Professor Nana Akufo-Addo, had to come to Medina for us to make some financial packages to the women who were affected. But Mr. Speaker, I regrettably would say that not every single person affected had those packages. So irrespective of how much funds and intervention the government will want to make for persons who are victims of fire outbreaks, it will be so difficult for every individual to benefit. And that is why I believe that at the state level, at the municipal level, at our local assembly level, we would have to increase or tighten regulations when it comes to protection of people, or when it comes to maintaining safety protocols that allows for, or that reduces the incidence of fire outbreaks. Mr. Speaker, fire outbreaks, apart from the fact that it's both national and international
in nature, particularly in the light of climate change and so on and so forth, the people it affects are people in our various homes and in our communities. In fact, I can count several, more than 10 fire outbreaks in and around the Medina constituency. They were not very major and massive, but people lost a lot of things. And this actually calls for increased education about fire safety in our society. And Mr. Speaker, I always want to point the nation to the revered Constitution and the obligation that the Constitution lays on all of us as policymakers. Mr. Speaker, when you look at Article 36, you look at Article 36(9) of the Constitution, it says that the state, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I read, it says the state shall take appropriate measures needed to protect and safeguard the national environment for posterity. Mr. Speaker, I'll just leave it there. How do we safeguard the national environment for posterity? Because anytime there is fire outbreaks, we endanger the future of other people. We destroy people's livelihood. Their homes are destroyed. They become impoverished, and they sink deeper on the poverty line. And so, Mr. Speaker, I believe that I associate myself with the concerns of the maker of the statement that this calls for concerted effort at the local assembly level and local assembly members, municipal chief executives, the regional ministers, local government, as well as the minister in charge of environment. All of us need to lift up our game when it comes to environmental standards that ensure that we reduce the incidence of fire outbreaks. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this statement.
Yes, let him go to Swami.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise under the Order 93.5 of our standing orders. Mr. Speaker, 93.5. Mr. Speaker, I'll do just that. I'm sure I'll stay even below that. Mr. Speaker, I associate myself with the statement read by my brother and friend from Ofoyukrom, except that, and I commend him for the statement, except that when he was listing the fire outbreaks in the country, he failed to mention the two major ones that happened in my constituency, the Swami magazine. Mr. Speaker, on the 27th of January 2025 and on the 1st of February 2025, yes, Mr. Speaker, we had two major fire outbreaks in the constituency, to the extent that Monday, when I came to this place, I had to leave and fly to Kumasi in the afternoon to go and inspect the place and see some of the victims. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the fire outbreaks are causing a lot of havoc across the length and breadth of the country, and it's causing loss of millions of Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, when I went to my constituency, the cost that these two fire outbreaks, the cost that they estimate, Mr. Speaker, is running into over 5 million Ghana cedis. And these are machines and oil. In fact, Mr. Speaker, at one place we had over 50 vehicles bent. At another place, machines that my people use got bent. Mr. Speaker, people got injured. And so the problem my colleague is talking about is live and real, and we really need to look at that. Mr. Speaker, we may want to look at the causes of the fire. In my constituency, I am told that at magazine, when people are going home in the evening, they want to burn the rubbish they make in the day, and then they will leave, and in the night, it can start fire. And in this one particular case, That was their suspicion. In another case, they were talking about those who smoke, in this case, not even cigarettes, weed, in and around some of these facilities. So people smoke the weed and leave the last, is it called joint? Yes. Last word, joint. They leave them and then they can cause this fire. Mr. Speaker, the causes of the fire outbreak are a lot, but after the outbreak, what do? Mr. Speaker, we do not have fire hydrants, we do not have fire tenders, we do not have the facilities to fight these fires. My colleague was talking about the California fire, yes, but they have the equipment and the resources to fight these fires when they come out. In our case, we don't. Mr. Speaker, in the case of Swami, we only have 140 fire tender. I managed to give them one big motor bicycle to help them with their movement. But what it tells us is that we really need to invest in the fire hydrant. Now, if you wait, I may say something good for you. Mr. Speaker, today I started engaging some big people in the society. And I was happy to know that the President of the Republic, His Excellency Dramani Mahama, is willing to give Swami Magazine one fire hydrant, and that one fire tender, and that on Saturday I'm going to meet this person in society, and when we get that at Swami Magazine, I believe that it will help us when the fire eventually breaks. But Mr. Speaker,
thank you.
Mr. Speaker, just 30 seconds before I go. You know, we have the Control and Prevention of Bushfires Act of 1990, Act 229, as legislators. We may want to go back and look at that law. Maybe it's about time we change some of the laws so that those who start these fires can be properly punished to serve as deterrent to others. Mr. Speaker, and on that I yield.
Thank you. Let me take the last round. Yes, Surveyor. John, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to associate with the statement made by our colleague and to thank him so much for bringing these things to the fore. I have been a victim of fire on one occasion in my home. I was just fortunate that I have a brave wife who was able to confront it head on, and before the fire service was even called in, she was able to put off the fire. Within that short space of about 5 minutes, so much was destroyed. It was as a result of a small boy at home lighting candle after light off, and it resulted in so much damage. So we want to look at what the fire service does to us in times of this nature. Of course, they always complain about the challenges they have with their facilities, the hydrants, even some of them without water in. And sometimes as a surveyor, we have challenged about how the fire service tender even gets to our individual homes because of the poor planning practices that we have had over the period. And so, in as much as we want the fire service to attend to us as quickly as possible and to help us salvage the situation we find ourselves in, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that we need to look at our planning laws and not allow people to wantonly build on access roads that have been left based on our designs and planning. I had to physically destroy people's attempt to want to build on some of the roads to be able to maintain some law and order. Because sometimes going to the police or the planning authorities to come and put these things in order becomes a challenge. Because sometimes people go behind the scenes
and do things that we cannot speak of on camera. Beyond that, I also believe that the workers themselves and the equipment they use as a government and as a society, we should always be conscious of whether they have the facilities they can use in fighting fire. During my election, I had the opportunity to meet my fire service unit in Sogakope, my district capital. And the report I got was that the last equipment that were bought for them was done at the time of the former president, His Excellency Evans Atta Mills. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Beyond his time, no serious investment had been made into the fire service as a unit. And sometimes, even if you go to their places of residence and offices, you lament that these are the people we want to come and help us fight fire at very short notice. I am personally helping them put up the office structure to make it more habitable. Maybe very soon I'll be done with that and then inaugurate or commission that. So in as much as we look at ourselves and the damage caused to our property, we may also want to look at the conditions they find themselves in as workers who we want to help us fight fire in times of need. I thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I pray that together as a people will help resolve their issues of equipment, places of abode, and also their office space. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Dr. Mahama. Ralph, you've spoken today, so let me hear his voice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think sitting down whole day without clearing my throat may be problematic. But on this, let me first and foremost commend my friend for bringing to fore the discussion about fires. Mr. Speaker, the global context was set by my friend. Locally, is giving cases of fires that have ravaged properties, businesses. Mr. Speaker, the nature of fires are not just those that affect households, businesses, but much more important, for instance, rural community like or constituency like ours, is the bushfires that destroys farmlands and produce of farmers are gravely affected. Mr. Speaker, the national statistics on fire is startling. Just between January and November last year, we have about 5,596 cases of fires. In contradistinction to the same period in 2023, that was a 6.5% jump in the cases. So the cases are not coming down. As a matter of fact, the bushfire cases are increasing. And the reported cases, these are just only reported cases. In many of the rural areas, our fire cases go unreported. And you would realize that if something is not done about it seriously, Mr. Speaker, we will have this issue. This year alone, just the first month, we are just in the second month, the cases of fire gives me an indication that if something is not done about it, we would have many more, the cases would have even increased more than last year that we have. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, farmers have to deal with the migratory birds. And the north, if you like, is the food basket, and even rice farmers specifically. They are dealing with migratory birds as one of the first challenges, and Mr. Speaker, we'll be filing questions to that effect to the Agric Minister on how we can address that. But the second most important threat to the livelihood of farmers is wildfires, bushfires. Several hectares of farm fields have been destroyed due to fire outbreaks. But unfortunately, the fire service looks or appear helpless. When you contact them, they complain. While constituency, again, you realize that they don't even have fire tenders, offices, they don't have like my colleague from Swami, I had to also support them with mobile, for instance, motorbikes, in order for them to be able to do their work effectively. So, Mr. Speaker, we will have to look at that. How do we resource them? Even airtime for the Ghana Ambulance Service or Ghana Fire Service to be able to conduct public education and sensitization on fires, they don't have the resources, and we have to look at how do we resource them to be able to do this work for us. Mr. Speaker, last but not the least is the response to fires, the emergency, the disaster when it happens. NADMO is not ready all the time to come to the aid of these victims. And I think that we must have a national policy where these people, we can have even a dedicated fund, and I will support, if the need be, and if the government will agree, a dedicated funding source for us to use to address this emergency when they do occur. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I come to leadership, and I learned the majority leadership is ceding DS to the member for Odododio. Kantamanto, is it located in Odododio?
Precisely.
Okay. So I've yielded the leadership, majority leadership to you.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am highly honored for this opportunity. My submission, as I draw authority from Order 93.5, will be brief. Mr. Speaker, it is indeed worrying that the rate at which fire is breaking out in the country without any form of control. Just September last year, Zongo Lane in Odododio, my constituency, experienced one of the most terrible encounters of a fire outbreak, where a stretch from one junction to the other near the Rollins Park got gutted down. Fire got burned for about a week without the fire service being able to put the fire out. In the end, families have been dispersed, properties worth millions of dollars have all been razed down. Mr. Speaker, I believe we all know, we are all aware of the famous Chinatown, which harbored all the goods that were imported from China, also got burnt in that instance. Just this January, about a month ago, we experienced another very terrible fire outbreak from the famous Katamanto market. Mr. Speaker, my amazement is the fact that we lack the capacity to put out fires when they break out. And I believe this is something that we ought to look at strategically. We really have to investigate into why fires start and we are unable to put it out till it erases everything down. In the case of Kantamanto, I admit we have lots of wooden structures over there which also catalyzed the fire. But, Mr. Speaker, amazingly, the Regional Fire Service post at Tudu was just in the proximity. Unfortunately, they found themselves helpless and they were unable to do anything about it. My inquiry, Mr. Speaker, established that in the first place, the fire hydrants all over the area were dried up, which is another matter we really need to look at. Because, Mr. Speaker, it looks like we have a serious water challenge in the city. A city such as Accra should not face such a situation. And I must say that in a constituency like Odododio, which is in the center of the world,
water do not flow in our taps. This is something that I'm sure we ought to look at and tackle with all seriousness. Mr. Speaker, the fire service officers told me in this regard that they do not have any modern equipment that will aid them put out fire. They established that the last time the fire service was equipped was in the era of the late President Professor Mills and His Excellency John Mahama, and that till date they have not received any single equipment in order to facilitate their job. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I also think that the MMDA planning departments should also be called and questioned. They ought to do their work diligently, because one of the major challenges has to do with planning.
Thank you.
Some way, somehow, fire tenders are not able to make their way to, the venues where fires break out, and it is one of the reasons why fires got burnt out and then we are not able to put them out. So please, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I also say that we need to look at this case of fire outbreaks seriously enough, just so we prevent the happenings. Finally, we don't get to see the reports of the investigations as conducted by the fire service and the police, which indicates the causative factors of such fires. I believe once the reports are out and we get to know, it will also aid, the public to help curb such occurrences.
Thank you so much. Yes. Lastly, the minority leadership. Are you also yielding? Yes. Member for Bekwai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, Doc, you wanted to speak?
I'm already up.
No, okay. Yes, Bekwai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, when it comes to experience, I do not think that there is any member on this floor that has received his or her first share in terms of fire outbreak better than me. If I recount, on the 26th December 2018, I lost my personal home, my house, to fire at a fault that had nothing to do with me, but Ghana Electricity Company Limited. Mr. Speaker, my entire household, my house, was razed down by fire in 2018, and this is a matter of public information. So I understand how it feels to lose or to be a victim of a fire outbreak. That being said, what I want to raise on this floor, three main issues. First of all, the fact that our national service, that institution, is grossly under-resourced. And why do I say that? Fire service station, Mr. Speaker, was about a minute or 2 minutes walk away from my house. When this incident was happening, it took us less than 5 minutes to walk to a fire service station. And Mr. Speaker, believe it or not, there was no water in their truck. The truck was not functioning. And the worst of it all, you couldn't even make complaint to them. That you have to make the complaint to the national, for national to relay information to the district, for the district to relay information to that particular shaman, substation, which is closer to Trasaco. So, Mr. Speaker, the problem or the issue has nothing to do with post-fire evaluation or what have you. It is simply a case of looking at how the fire service can be resourced. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a clarion call on the government, first off, to see how they can put in adequate resources to help our fire service to function. Because, Mr. Speaker, taking this to my constituency, just last 2 weeks, I have had to take my personal money to buy an engine for our fire service to put in their truck to be able to serve my constituency, which shouldn't be the case. To add to that, I have had to buy my megaphones and other facilities to be able to get them on their trucks or to be able to put them out there to provide education to my constituents how to arrest or how to prevent fire outbreaks. So this, to me, adding on to the beautiful and wonderful presentation by my colleague from Ofori-Krom, with what my colleague lawyer from Swami has said.
Mr. Timekeeper, your time is up.
Yes, so Mr. Speaker, to sum it up, I believe that much as we are arguing that the government should do something about it, I feel that what the government must do is to look at resourcing the fire service to be able to do their job properly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And if I'm given the opportunity, perhaps I'll also present a paper on this to enhance this argument, because, Mr. Speaker, this is a canker that must be arrested with immediate effect. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, leadership, are you taking the last one or you can make it tomorrow?
Okay, let's take it. One. We'll take it one. Mr. Speaker, we'll take the last statement.
Very well.
And just one. Yeah, the last one. And then we'll call it a day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, my brother, I'm just looking at your statement.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable Geoffrey Kinney. Yes, let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make this statement on renewed clashes in my constituency in Kwanta South, which have resulted in the loss of many precious lives. And as a third termer of this good house, I deem it extremely necessary and a duty to draw the attention of this august house to the renewed clashes, so that with your kind support, this recurring conflict can be permanently solved. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, let me state that the constituency is a municipality in Otil region, recently carved out of Volta. The renewed clashes are between the Adeles, Achudes, Chalas, and a Muslim group in Nkwanta. The conflict happened as a result of a dispute over unclear land boundaries among the feuding factions and tribes. Mr. Speaker, may I use this occasion to report to the House that a total of 22 precious lives had been lost since 2022. And as I make this statement, the entire township of Nkwanta has been deserted, turning the place into a ghost town. Government institutions such as banks, schools, hospitals are not functioning fully, while general economic activities and social life has grounded to a halt. As most people have fled from the municipality to avoid further loss of lives and property, other forms of violence perpetrated by the various fascists includes attack on farms, destruction of shops, and burning of houses. Right Honorable Speaker, at this juncture, let me use this occasion to congratulate and to commend the security agencies comprising of the police, military, fire and the immigration officers, as well as NADMO, whose personnel were able to work tirelessly to restore law and order. May I also add that the continued presence of these security agencies has immensely contributed in subsiding the hostilities considerably. It is my fervent prayer that the military will remain in the municipality for some time until calm is fully restored. Mr. Speaker, instead of applying peaceful means and dialogue to solve these misunderstandings, the fascists have resorted to violence, resulting in the loss of innocent lives. Indeed, the conflict has taken a deep toll on the people, and until total peace is restored, economic, social, and educational activities cannot proceed in a normal way. In finding a lasting solution to the conflict, let us do well to take into account all the various factors that directly or indirectly tend to fuel dispute at various places. This includes social exclusion or marginalization, extreme politicization of issues, lack of trust, and suspicion of public officials by the different tribes. Let me add that a comprehensive approach which takes into account all the above factors is the surest way to resolve the conflicts in Nkwanta South. Right Honorable Speaker, as the incumbent member of Parliament of the constituency, I wish to pledge my fullest support and commitment to every effort that will be made to bring peace to the area. On my part, I have so far played a neutral role as a peacemaker by doing all in my power to apply communication to draw their attention to the urgent need for dialogue and the negative impact of violence on the constituency. In addition, I wish to request that a special committee be constituted by the appropriate authorities to critically and dispassionately delve into all the issues with the sole aim of finding a lasting solution. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I would like to sympathize with the bereaved families, those who have lost their properties and displaced, and to plead with all factions to hang their gloves while efforts are being made to bring peace. I therefore call for the kind support of charitable organizations to come to our aid. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you once again for this opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, let me start from the military man.
Speaker,
Kenneth,
the sense of the house, the mood of the house is that because it's a bit late, so I'm just pleading with my brother that we should, instead of 1-1 as agreed, let's do 2-2.
No problem.
Let's do 2-2. I plead it. 2-2.
You can do even 1-3. Don't worry.
can do 1 3. Can we say everything? We do right.
Colonel, let's hear you. 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity given to me to contribute towards the statement made by my honorable friend from the other side. Mr. Speaker, conflicts and disputes of all types are creating problems for all of us. And it behoves on all of us to try to find very lasting solutions to these conflicts. There are no conflicts with the same or similar ingredients. They may vary from particular areas to others. So there may be peculiarities about some specific conflicts. And we need to delve so much into them to find the real root causes and the appropriate solutions to make sure that we find lasting solutions to these problems. As they keep recurring, they take different dimensions. Their consequences are unimaginable, the intended and unintended ones alike. Mr. Speaker, oftentimes when these problems occur, instead of all of us, especially those directly in those conflict areas, coming together to find solutions to them, we tend to mix them up with other considerations, such as, in some cases, political considerations. And once we bring politics into some of these matters, then they become intractable and difficult to resolve. The case of Nkwanta, unfortunately, has been recurring. And I'm happy that our brother, who is a member of parliament for that area, is bringing it to the fore of this parliament for all of us to have a look at it and see how best we can resolve these disputes. I know that they appreciate the efforts by the security services, but the security services have a limit to what they can do. The disputing parties are the ones who really hold the key to the solutions to these problems. As long as they are prepared, willing, and able to allow some of the tensions to calm down and have a spirit of forgiveness and tolerance, it becomes easier for the security services and other stakeholders to find solutions to these problems. But oftentimes, the problem occurs, we find ad hoc solutions to them, we try to manage the solution, the disputes in a manner that will appease some interest groups, and then without getting to the root causes of the problems, then they recur. And we go in once again with the security services. And that may not help matters. So what may be useful in this context is to have some mediation efforts from people who may not be directly related to the conflict or may not have interest in the conflict, and then with the cooperation, assistance, and preparedness of the parties involved to find solutions, we are better placed to do so. He said a lot, and I believe he means well, but on his own, probably it will be difficult for him to find solutions to these problems. I have had an opportunity to visit the area when I was Commissioner for Customs, and I had the opportunity to learn about some of the challenges there. So these are matters that when they start, it becomes very, very difficult to manage them. Mr. Speaker, in 1985, I was a very young man, a platoon commander, a lieutenant in the army. And we had the Kusasi Mamprusi crisis for the first time in Boku. I was one of the first officers sent there to manage the conflict. 1985, up to today, we still have that conflict. So I'm just drawing the attention of the members that once a conflict erupts, if we don't try hard to go to the basic roots of the causes of these problems and find objective means of solving them, we take sides, it becomes very, very difficult to solve them, especially when partisan matters are mixed with customary land and other matters. It then becomes difficult for you to go in because you'll be thinking about the votes that you may get from one side. And if you are not careful, then you become a victim yourself and you are unable to offer very pragmatic, objective solutions to the problems and challenges of the area. I sympathize with my brother, and I hope that all of us will take this matter as a serious one and find a lasting solution to that problem. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll begin with the lady.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this heartbreaking statement made by Honorable Geoffrey Kinney, MP for Nkwanta South Municipality or constituency. Mr. Speaker, like the honorable member from the other side said, this conflict started about 30 years ago when I was a border patrol officer in Nkwanta. When the conflict started, it was between two tribes, the Achodes and the Chalas. Mr. Speaker, there were no killings about 15 years ago. But of late, what has happened is that anytime there was this conflict, when another tribe, when a person from another tribe is killed, then that tribe joins the conflict. So initially, it was between the Chalas and the Achodes. An Adele man was killed, then the Adeles joined. Of late, a Muslim has been killed, then the Muslims joined. So we need to actually look at the actors of this conflict. The primary actors, those who are involved in the conflict, and then those who are also having interest, the secondary actors, and then the others who hide behind the conflict. They hide behind the conflict to do the killings. They are the shadow actors. Mr. Speaker, in every conflict, the shadow actors are more dangerous than the people who are involved in the conflict. What is happening is that when people are arrested, when this conflict began, when people are arrested, no proper investigations are done, and then the culprits are left unpunished. That's why this continues. Mr. Speaker, in Nkwanta municipality, they are farmers. Now people are afraid even to go to their farms for farming activities. It's also another commercial center. When it comes to marketing, Nkwanta market is a very big market on Mondays and Tuesdays. Mr. Speaker, unless we actually look at what to do about the shadow actors who are hiding behind this conflict and to deal with them, this conflict in Nkwanta will never end. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that this assembly, as a result of this conflict, this assembly is struggling. The MP has put his personal resources in giving relief items to the victims. Last year, when this conflict started, the items that were meant for the flood victims, almost half of the items were given to this conflict victims. So there's a backlog of flood victims who have not received their items. Just last week, the RCC, the Regional Coordinating Council, is complaining. They've run out of resources for even this conflict victims. The disassembly has run out. They cannot even generate, funds from the IDF. They can't. So the time has come for the National Peace Council and all stakeholders to come together to adopt, Mr. Speaker, a more proactive reconciliation or peacemaking approach so that Nkwanta
Thank you.
will once again be a peaceful place for the people to be able to go about their normal activities or duties.
Thank
you,
you,
Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Yes, my brother.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to sympathize with my senior colleague from Nkwanta. And I want to speak on this subject matter passionately because as a country, to my view, we're mostly interested in curative measures either than the preventive measures that will not put us into such situations. We cannot talk about indigenous conflicts in Ghana when we leave out land and land boundaries. Traveling somewhere in Africa, land administration system alone has been able to cure a lot of conflicts among tribes. But as a country, we are looking at a conflict which is a result of something, but we are not looking at what is causing that result. When you look at conflicts that we can mention of like Nkunya, Alavanyo, Peki, Chito, all these conflicts are as a result of land disputes. If as a country we can put measures in demarcating clear boundaries of traditional areas and within and among tribes, I think we would have been curing parts largely of the conflicts that we would have been curing today. Mr. Speaker, countries came to Ghana and then went into this land administration system and were able, through mediation and conciliation, set out boundaries that would have resulted into conflicts. Then as a country, why should we wait for these conflicts to arise for us to be putting in measures such as applying the security forces to cure the conflict, whilst immediately the security forces move out, the conflicts come back again? It is about time, as we try as much as possible to cure the ones we are seeing now, we should, as a house, bring out policies that will instill the kind of boundary disciplines we want to have among the people of Ghana, so as to cure this kind of conflicts. I would be glad if the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources would move into these areas as soon as possible and meet with the traditional leaders. For what I know about tradition, whatever is even spoiled can still be cured and it becomes the tradition of the next generation. And if we move in that, throughout the country, we would have solved a lot of conflict. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Ejura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support the statement made by my good friend, Honorable Kini, MP from Nkwanta Staff. Mr. Speaker, let me use this opportunity to commend the security services for the support they've given to that community. Mr. Speaker, we all know that this conflict at Nkwanta Staff is between three different community or tribes, where we have the Adelis, the Chodis, and the Chalas, all because of land. Land has been a source of conflict in many areas within this country and outside the country. Mr. Speaker, my community, which my colleague has just mentioned, Chito and Peki, has been in conflict for some time now. Mr. Speaker, all because of a piece of land. And I believe that that piece of land, which has gone through some form of litigation over the years, and judgment has been given to one side or the other, and currently is still at appeal court for determination. Mr. Speaker,
I want to plead with any case concerning either stool land, family land, or traditional land that has been with the court that has not been litigated or resolved. Let's have mechanism to resolve it as early as possible. And let me also state that the cost of maintaining security services in a particular conflict zone is so huge. We cannot continue spending our taxpayers' money just to resolve conflict in either land litigation or whatever. The Member of Parliament has mentioned that he has spent so much of his own resources because the assembly is not working. I believe my colleague from Pusiga, my colleague from Boku, and my colleague from all these conflict areas have spent so much of their own resources. And we need to have permanent solution to some of this thing. And I believe apart from the mediation that we are talking about, apart from putting committees that will resolve this thing, the resolution should come from the people themselves. Why should someone claim ownership of the land? Another person also come and said, we were here before you. In some cases, it is not because someone was there before you came. It is all because somebody has married into a family and they decide to give the land to the person with the land. And when the children of those generations comes up and say, oh, we just married into this family, we gave it to farm here, now it's give our lands back to us, it becomes conflict. Mr. Speaker, I heard my colleague recently, as I went up, Honorable Dakamekpo, made a statement where, to the effect that a particular land where Chitos and Pekis have been fighting, the Dedo land, has been a subject of litigation for all this year, and that it was originally with the Pekis. That infuriated my people, and the whole Asafo troop came up, made a press conference, and they were going to marshal to Peki for another war again. So sometimes our own political leadership, what we say, also can infuriate people. So I want to plead with all of us. When we are making statements, we should be careful of what we said. Let's be factual in the things that we say. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you. I think, okay, he's the only person up now, so let me give it to him, and that'll be the farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me use the opportunity to thank the maker of the statement and also commend all others who have contributed to this statement. This Nkwanta conflict started maybe around 1970 till now. In the past, when it began, what happened was those in the conflict could travel to the courts on one vehicle. But there was no problem. There was no violence. But as the years go by, things are getting worse. And I think that is where we should be very careful. Mr. Speaker, the unfortunate situation is that with the years going by, it has now transcended to loss of lives. And at this point, 22 lives have been lost. As we speak, when you get to Nkwanta, the place is like a cemetery because people are just afraid, and a lot of them have fled. Schools have remained closed, markets closed, stores have been vandalized, and everybody is running helter-skelter for his dear life. Mr. Speaker, the implication of what is happening will be too dear to this nation. That is the more reason why it is very important we take urgent steps to make sure that the situation is nipped in the bud. As we speak now, the security forces are doing their own on the ground. We only need to encourage them to step up their games, whilst government take the necessary steps to bring finality to this particular conflict. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I hope leadership will forgo their comments. We are tied, And therefore, my comment to leadership is to give me directives as to how you.
Mr. Speaker, you are right. It's been a long day. So we are in your hands, and we will be glad if you call it a day.
Well, leadership, when are we coming tomorrow? Is it 10 or 12?
12. All right, Mr. Speaker, 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock. Honorable members. Yes, minority leadership.
Mr. Speaker, we are amenable to 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock, yes. Very well.
Derby Day and Deadline Day come together at Stamford Bridge as Chelsea take on West Ham United, with deal sheets still being submitted up and down the country. For the next couple of hours, though, Premier League points rather than player purchases are the only thing that matters as Chelsea look to reassert themselves in the bid for Champions League qualification. It's been a decent weekend for the Blues, with several of their rivals dropping points, but that only counts if Enzo Maresca's side can pick some up here against the Hammers. Well, Chelsea show two changes to the side that started at Manchester City last week, as Philip Jorgensen is preferred to Robert Sanchez in goal. Tosin also returns to the starting lineup in place of Trevor Chalobah. Cole Palmer scored in the reverse game and against the Hammers here last season, whilst Nicholas Jackson has bagged 4 goals against tonight's opponents in his Blues career. Graham Potter also makes 2 changes to the West Ham 11 that drew with Aston Villa. The big news for them is that Jared Bowen starts, featuring for the first time since returning from a fractured foot in December. Lucas Paqueta misses out altogether for the visitors, whilst Andy Irving replaces the injured Edson Alvarez in midfield. Good challenge from Caicedo. Now, can Chelsea spring a break here with Nicholas Jackson? Got Sancho